Hey guys, Level Cap here. Today we're going to be taking a look at the ACWR weapon. Now normally we have loadouts today. A lot of people actually asked for me to do the ACWR from last week, and unfortunately, just because of the nature of the beta, I had to pre-record a lot of this gameplay, and I simply couldn't wait for the loadout comments to come in. So I decided to sort of pick one of my own, which is the ACWR, my personal favorite weapon from the beta. I think this thing has just become such a beast of a gun. Now, a lot of people like the ACWR from Battlefield 3. It did crazy good damage per second, but it wasn't without its flaws. Now, one of the weird criticisms of this weapon is that it only had 26 rounds in a magazine, as opposed to pretty much every other carbine's 30 rounds in a magazine. The ACWR used a weird ammunition called the 6.5mm Grendel ammo, and this is, I think, the reason why the magazines carried a little bit less, but there wasn't a huge reason for why this gun was using that kind of ammo. In the game, it can shoot 5.56 rounds, and it just had a very odd damage model of 20 damage maximum as opposed to the 25 damage maximum. So there's a lot of just weird things with the ACWR in BF3, which I guess was put there for variety. You know, you didn't want every gun in the game using 5.56 ammo. And just to keep things, I guess, diverse. And I can appreciate that, but at the same time, the update in Battlefield 4 that the ACWR has been given, it is now shooting 5.56 ammo, it's doing 25 damage maximum. It's even shooting at a faster fire rate of 880 rounds per minute. The ACWR is my favorite gun in the Battlefield 4 beta. It absolutely tears through people. It still has a very competitive reload speed of 2 seconds, allowing you to get back in the action very quickly and not really expose yourself for too long with the mag out of the gun. The recoil and accuracy of this weapon can be something that's a little bit daunting to get kills with at extreme long range. You also get a bit more of an damage drop off at long range with this weapon, although we're going to really have to see how the heavy barrel affects the ACWR and the carbines in general. It might actually make them more effective at longer ranges than we were able to get them to be in the beta. So again, the attachments are going to have a very big effect on the weapons, but the fact that currently you can put a red dot sight on there and a foregrip, which I think is like already getting the gun to 90% of its potential, it is just such a wonderful weapon to play with, and I think we're going to be seeing a lot of the ACWR in the final launch of Battlefield, because the maximum damage output is very impressive. Again, 880 rounds per minute with a 25 damage maximum. This is going to make it one of the top damaging weapons for any sort of close quarter combat. To put that in perspective for you guys, the AEK 971, one of the most powerful and potentially deadly weapons in BF3, was doing 900 rounds per minute at 25 damage maximum. So this is 880 rounds per minute, 25 damage maximum. It's almost got the same damage output as the AEK 971, and because of the AEK 971's damage output and its ability to essentially still be accurate while putting out that kind of damage, it was one of the best guns in BF3, and I think the ACWR has the potential to be one of the best guns in BF4. Again, this is highly speculative because there's a lot of guns we haven't been able to get our hands on with the stats and just check them all out and even test out different attachments. But as you can see here from the gameplay, I'm having no trouble just dropping people. And the domination game mode was a really great way to test out this gun. You know, you get a lot of fast action running gun gameplay, a lot of close to medium range engagements. Now, in terms of the actual Conquest game mode, with the 64 players just having a much larger map, I was preferring to use the AK-5C just because it was a little bit more accurate at range. The recoil was easier to manage, so I'm not saying the ACWR is the greatest gun for all situations, but on Conquest, Domination, or rather just Domination, I think it was possibly one of the best guns you could use. One of the basic fundamentals for being competitive in, say, Battlefield or any first-person shooter for that matter, is finding a gun that can dish out as much damage as possible, the fastest damage rate possible, with still being a controllable weapon. If you have a gun like the FAMAS in Battlefield 3, which shot incredibly fast at I think around 1,000 rounds per minute, but is very hard to aim and control, then you're not really getting a gun that's very worthwhile, because although it has one of the highest damage potentials, if you can't hit your target, then it's not really worthwhile. So what you want to do is you want to find a gun that you can just barely control, or you can control and still has a very high rate of fire versus its control rate. And then you've got one of the most competitive guns in the game, and that's why I think the ACWR is going to be one of those highly competitive weapons, especially because it's a carbine, and now carbines can be used by any class. So think of the aggressive recon class using motion sensors in the ACWR. That was actually a lot of fun to play during the beta. Now what I'm really curious to see, and this was something that the beta just never let us really fully experience and play around with, is testing out all the attachments on this weapon, especially the heavy barrel, because if the heavy barrel performs anything like it did in Battlefield 3, then it's going to increase the damage at range with this weapon, and it's going to increase the accuracy at range. Two things which I think is holding the ACWR back. You know, there's assault rifles out there that can outdamage this gun at range. So if you can increase its accuracy and damage at range, all of a sudden you have increased the versatility of the ACR exponentially, and now you definitely have one of the best guns in the game. So I'm very excited to see what kind of modifications can be done to the ACR. And I apologize for not explaining why I keep saying ACR and not ACWR. I'm just kind of used to it because the actual more commonly referred to model of this weapon is the ACR, which stands for Adaptive Combat Rifle. It's also known as the Masada. So all in all, I would say definitely try and play around with the ACWR in Battlefield 4, get good with it, and one of the huge benefits to this weapon is that if you are really good with it, you can equip it for any class that you want. And I think that's going to be a very popular trend in Battlefield 4, is getting incredibly good with a carbine of your choice and then just using that on whichever class you enjoy the most. So thanks for watching, guys. I apologize for not picking one of the loadout comments this time, just due to the nature of the beta and having to pre-record a lot of this footage for you guys. Loadout will return to its normal format where you guys, the viewers, get to pick the guns and customizations that I use. As always, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.